I'm Brittney Miller, and I am the Assemblywoman representing Assembly District 5 in Southern Nevada. And I'm here to share my experience from the other end of being an educator, having to actually teach this to students. And so I became a teacher a few years ago, and this was I taught 5th grade, and this was one of the standards for 5th grade, was actually teaching how we, not just elections, but how we elect the president. And I need everyone to put their mindset in the mind of a 10 or 11-year-old and how they are very literal and everything is very cut and dry, and it is what it is. So it turns out being a fantastic lesson, because during the lesson I also say, well, first I should say, I begin every lesson with civics or government or social studies with this tagline: I'm going to teach you stuff not even your parents know. And so right away, you have a captive audience. And after the lesson, during the lesson, I even said something like, I guarantee that you could go up to 7-Eleven and poll everyone who walked in this door, and only one person maybe would be able to explain this to you. Monday morning when I came into school, I had about 12 students running up to the door with clipboards because they couldn't wait to tell me that what I said, as just kind of a remark, they took literally. They went up to 7-Eleven that was on the corner, and they stood there and they polled everyone who walked in. And they were like, Ms. Miller, you were right. Because just like I had said, there was a category of people, and they had all the tally sheets, that, well, we've heard of it, but we can't explain it. Then there's the other group of people that when it comes to the process, we've never heard of the Electoral College. And yet there was one gentleman who could actually explain what it was to them. So this lesson also included me sharing that sometimes the person who actually wins the most votes doesn't win the presidency, which again, this makes absolutely no sense to kids, because points and math and games, this doesn't make sense. How can the person who earned the most points not win? So I had about 5 seconds to figure out how I'm going to explain this to 10 and 11-year-olds for them to grasp this concept. So what I said was, let's suppose, these were 5th graders, we have a graduation party coming up. Let's suppose the principal says, we are going to have either pizza or tacos for the 5th grade graduation party. But as a principal, I'm not going to ask every individual 5th grader, so teachers, I need you to have the students in your class vote for what they want, either pizza or tacos, and then come back to me and let me know what the class decides. So we go ahead and we take the vote. And what happens is, you can see in the 3 5th grade classes, I asked the students, so say these are our results. And the students go through and they understand that in Miller's class, pizza won. In Jones' class, tacos won. And in Smith's class, pizza won. So I asked the students, so what do you think the principal's going to serve for the party? And all the kids are, of course, like, well, we're obviously having pizza because pizza won. And I asked them, I said, so was this a fair way? Was this a good process? Well, yeah, that makes sense. It's, everybody voted and pizza won. And then I asked the students, or told the students, go ahead and count up the votes. At this point, and this is in education what we call an aha moment, where everyone in the room's like, ah, because we understand that all the students get it, they start jumping up and down, metaphorically, because they realize that the one that actually got the most votes was the tacos. And so what came from that was this huge discussion of the students about how, that's not fair and that doesn't make sense. And it's like the votes didn't even count, and how come all the votes didn't matter, and how can pizza win if tacos actually got the most votes? Well, I decided that this lesson was an effective lesson and taught it like this for the next 4 years. But the one thing, it was always the same sentiment every time, that the students, in their literal understanding of it just didn't make sense. All votes weren't counted. And so I can tell you today, anecdotally, as it is, that in my experience of teaching this to 10 and 11-year-olds, that they do believe that every student in every class, that every vote for pizza or tacos should matter and should be equal. And therefore, I would say that my 5th grade students believe that the popular vote is the best way to determine if we should have pizza or tacos in class.
Hi, everybody. I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin, coming to you again with our little intel brief that we do every week, where we highlight 3 issues: 1 economic, 1 national security, and 1 democracy issue. This week on economic security, everyone's talking about the big, beautiful bill, the bill that passed the House of Representatives and now is over here in the Senate. We're all talking about things like cuts to Medicaid, things like cuts to SNAP, but I want to focus on the tax provisions because I think there's some really important hidden things in